Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with a one-page layout and week 4 of my kind of 6x6 paper pad mini series. So I had been destashing my She Shed and decided to get rid of quite a bit of 6x6 paper pads. But there were a couple that I only had a few papers left in, and so I decided to challenge myself and use those up. This one here is the Wander collection from My Mind's Eye. I did have a couple of 12 by 12 papers, and so that is what the cloud paper is that I'm going to use for my border here. Again, this was kind of a challenge to use up the 6x6 paper pads, but also use up kind of stuff from my stash. So the photos I am going to be documenting are photos from Plane Ride Home, I believe. I will end up I do end up changing one of the flares I use in this collection because I realized this was not on the way to Florida, but on the way home, and I had another one that worked better. So these are the 6x6 papers that I am going to be using. There was some pink in the collection, and when I thought about using this again, I thought I would be using it for one of my boys' layouts. But then I found these photos of the plane ride home and decided to utilize some of the pink in it and document or create this layout for myself. I really liked, it was a pink arrow paper. I think you can see it right there. So I wanted to kind of use up some of that. I decided to kind of overlap these photos here and kind of go across the page a little bit. I looked back at this when I've already done the layout share. I'm a wee bit behind on this voiceover when the layout share is already done. But looking back on this layout, I do wish I would have backed the 2 window photos. I feel like they kind of get lost together like that. So I do at least wish I would have maybe even just backed them in white just to give that little line of separation. So how I am using these 6x6 papers are I'm cutting them into different width strips, and I'm going to have them go all the way from the top to the bottom. I do have tape on my photos, so the photos will not move, but I only tape the middle so that I was able to then kind of sneak these strips of paper behind the photos and not rip them up. And then that just allowed me to know where my photos were going and kind of work from there. So I am going to then tape them all down. I did decide to kind of make them a little bit more crooked and not perfect. And I do like that aspect of this layout. A lot of times I will just have kind of linear, everything has to be straight, everything has to be perfect. And I didn't do that with this one. And I just think it is kind of a little bit more fun. So again, this is just a great way, even scraps. If you have different width scraps, use them as like strips of paper behind your photo. I think it's just a great way, 1, to use that up, but then 2, get a lot of patterns maybe that you wouldn't normally use. I did include the luggage paper, which normally I would not have used that really for any layout, but I was able to use it here just because it was in little bursts, I guess is what I was going to say. I have quite a bit of the ephemera and stickers. I must have ended up with 2 of the ephemera packs, which is fine. I think I'll be able to use them for other layouts as well because, like I said, I'm really down to very minimal paper after this layout. So I don't have much of this collection left, but arrows, and I guess just the colors are kind of more adventure-y, and I'm sure I have other collections that will match. So I have this travel here, and I wanted to kind of figure out how I could use that as my title. And so I am going to use that down at the bottom, and I brought in this alpha from Felicity Jane. I thought that kind of aqua matched pretty well. Okay, maybe I'm switching it up a little bit. So, different Felicity Jane Alpha. So that flare at the top says "The Sea is Calling." That is from Scrap and Happy Studio. It's one of her canvas flares, which I love so much. I do end up changing that because, like I said, I realized after the fact that this was actually going home from Florida, where we have lakes, but it's not the sea. And so I thought I would find a different one. And I think the one that I found and replaced it with is like a darker blue and just talks about travel. So I'll keep that "Sea is Calling" one for another layout. And then I decided to kind of layer the title over top of that globe. And use that down at the bottom, and then use the little hashtag. I don't usually do that, but hashtag travel days. Travel is kind of, it blends in a little bit in certain places down at the bottom, certain papers down there. So again, off camera, what I did is I outlined it in white. I just have like a white jelly pen. Back to the good old days, the jelly pens. And so I just traced the travel in white, and that helped it stand out from that darker paper a lot better. Again, I did that off camera, so I apologize. And then I'm just trying to use up my embellishments. When I embellish, I like to kind of have one larger piece maybe as a base. So up at the top, there is that luggage. And then I used some smaller pieces after that. So I believe there's an airplane up there, which is kind of hard to see from here. Maybe it's just the luggage and the sunglasses. But I think there's an airplane. I'm having a hard time seeing it right now. And then the flare kind of on top of it. And I like to do different layers. So I like it to be dimensional. I will do kind of the bigger layer, flush on the paper. And then the canvas flares are really nice because they're not too thick, but it gives that dimension in that cluster. And then I kind of tucked the puffy sunglasses under that. So there is kind of dimension there. I then had some kind of pocket cards. I cut the passport off the top as my base for this next cluster. And then I'm going to use the arrow in the puffy sunglasses. So I didn't use foam tape on that particular cluster. However, I do have the puffy sunglasses, which stick out more. And so that gives that cluster a little bit of dimension up there as well. For the visual triangle, I am including my title. I did add an arrow under the days at the bottom. So I do have that visual triangle with my clusters there. And then I'm just finishing off the layout with some enamel dots. I have some that have been open for a long time that I'm really just trying to use up, and luckily the colors matched pretty well, so I am just going to kind of scatter them throughout each of the clusters. But that is going, there's that airplane. That is a puffy airplane at the top as well. So in that view there, you can see how the couple of the letters blend in with that darker paper. So I do outline those and help those pop out. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this little series, and I should have maybe one more layout coming next month using 6x6 again. I've got another idea, so I will hopefully get that created for you and have that up on my channel. But I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.